Yen support John Mahama because AB and Anya and Kroma Esha say when we know a certain John Mahama will have to finish.
US, Iran, Israel war no yese mo identity no. Hisa Ghana yefo no kwa na ekosoro. Yefo no kwa na ekosoro. But then before say no nye excuse Mahama be use. Crack no nye excuse cry. Now, me pese ene wo hwe bibi. Dintia Nana Otu Darko ye journalist like okasa wo se oti. E wom se oye affiliated to NDC. Enioma be ma NDC. Enya numonyam enkwa no ka. But sometimes okasa ultimately sabrante no pegana yi. Yes. Nkroma list for ni de ja obo pegana yi pa. Tie no na tie abakwase mo aka de afa Mahama ho omampanyi bibi ofiri bibi o babedu ene nneoma waye reparation aye kan abrofu ntwe enkan ti se me wom ni sikai be fuma ba wo de ti divine kroma so kasai ti.
This is Boadu TV, truth and integrity.
I'm taka chira say and try a da hoche no e badare no kre President John Dramani Mahama aya dia obi nye bida na we no yen fane time so enka ne hye sabi enye yen kasa ye ne mema President Mahama ni onyama hyeran esan say eba abakose mu a amanyo sema kwada mu President Mahama enya no se ye yi nipa miensa wo Ghana se owura Mahama no ani kan a ebi obeto so mienu se wo sha ase buabu adoma no na ofiri ho baba ye emrase bedwani na ofiri ho be ye oswafo abedi akire na ofiri ho be ye oswafo edumini bi kra aye NDC amanyokoi obeye dombo abuafo woye adwuma bebre nam soa ma obeye omampani abedi akire ma omampani ni mu no obedi kakra abra Professor Atameus ekon nkrechi no amonwa musa benya kwanya beye Ghana mampani afin pinu ndi nsia yeto abatia no mane kotena fie Manik beye omampani dada a wetwamu ena me no kasai owura yi a ana ye Ghana mampani afimpinu ni aduonu nso ede ye nimu yi na dwuma da honom se abibire mu nyina kwankyerefo panin eti eba akwadamu potokasam ye friend experience owura Mahama ni kura bi nti se na mekan no enye reparation champion ana agenda ya owura Mahama epien ana sabi mpanyifo anim sabi akodonto ebe hyere ne onyam na emom mpanyifo se eposo nsunso togumu a wonchi yenti akwa me na mepese me kyerɛkyerɛ bibi kakra ever sa reparation agenda hono no se bebre nti nsem yase ye na as a student of Pan-Africanism and from the perspective of Pan-Africanism se ye die ho atum prekope se bibifo niama abibre aso ye ni sen obronu de no etwa se mesi bibi kyerɛ manfo ne yehunu se enye kwa ni emfa ne tra se kemi akwa se omampani ni kogina amansan nyina ajesuo tenabia ano de ensem bi koto udwa ana ye koto aba ana wi ase no abrofo ne ayi aman dodo no nyina eto bi bo Ghana na bibrim me emfa ne tra sa esan se yesua de akenkan homa ana ye nim nsunsuan so bone a enkuayo ene nkuasom ede bre Ghana ne na bibrim a anka minu kasai owura President Mahama emeduru Ghana ne bibrim hampo ana yesi ohoni amano na aye ne nkaidu ene oko Addis Ababa Ethiopia African Union ana bibrim anyina nka bomku Ye office ye wo honom no. Nipa ba kro a yesi ni ho ni si honom. Eyo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Sebi enyo no nko na koye. But mpanyimfo say edom ani sanyoso ntakrache. Meba be kire ne owura Mahama aye. But ese ete ase afi apema hankron adiosiam yensa 1963 amai baye aduasa mienu ehyiae ewo Ethiopia na wasaje fo Kwame Nkrumah ekobi ekosi Ghana na Julius Nyerere ekosi Tanzania man Nnamdi Azikiwe Drama Nigeria ye wodom ne mpimpim a wongyina ma wonku ahodo te se Rastafari Makonnen ai bi mo friend Hisalasi no gyina Ethiopia name. A lot of people, Abdul Nasser, a lot of them. Ye wo abibre mpanimfo bi nso sorry pa wom so me Latter-day Saint but beboa yie se abibre ebefa ne ntoma pefra na me baba kire unienti reparation agenda no hia na ma kire unienti a in 1963 those 32 heads of state met in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa. Osha obiti say Samora Machel Ujrama Mozambique Akuma Mozambique Uwe Silvanus Olympio Ujrama Togo Okuma Togo ene owura yi oba ya obesesa I can't say obefre Burkina Faso yi the land of the righteous people me very finiding but utimu say when we yankrofo a won kan won ho bomu eboaye so mbeji abibire si ho ne dentia isan say na ya yenkwa ewo ye ya yemem ebie na reparation agenda hwe ensiesie ade bi ehia ma oman bi ankyekere ne nkankro so bi afa kwan bone so ni wendi ne yi na ese wo ye ensiesie eno ni owura Mahama enyina so na die na nkoye ntia owura Mahama on the 80th session of the United Nations Assembly as United Nations champion for reparation. What do two we are saying him say? Ayen kwasom eni nkwayo ya de bia. Ebutia Ghana eni ebibre mu aka nyina ya ni onyam so. Inti kase ewiase gitum says slavery is the greatest sin against humanity. Abusia, in the 15th century, most, if not all, Africans were taking over the Atlantic oceans, not of their will. Abrafunu fa kweti kwanso, and sometimes oti bi mu say na na mo papa mo ka o. Oti story te say obroni ma wa hwehwe ana o se fa me bakwa na wa gisa story yedi. Because obroni ni try bakosem no say na be ya you will not fault the future generation of the white man. Because en fa won say na ye nanan mu agimi asifa minji ni da say o mama me na na hwehwe na ne ba sabi wo ye na sim ba no wo se mama hwehwe no na fa me ba ne ko. What kind of history is this? And we keep on teaching this nonsense in our schools. Te yema yana na bi ensaden wono musa no sensa ya do famema says slavery. Come on, this cannot be true. This is untruth peddled in the history books, and we need to rewrite and change this nonsense of a position of history. Kwame, those were the times abrofunu eshepe nipa efri ebibrem hanum te som yemwa. And for the records, they were not treated and recognized as human beings. They were known as objects. Eti na obibininu a yafano enfri ni pem efri ebibrem ha. Dene kwakwaye enkwayo will be my son. Now, ye abrofono properties. It is Obrunini kind of TV or kind of tape. Sat our friend Mega Blaster. Now, or kind Ninya Padia or wa. No, the Obibini Aquanon so come. Abusia. Those were the times that abrofono timi ye cages. Na cage, you know, ya the before Kodano SSIM. And then me buy ya, and it dawned on me to say, and yes, I would have given you some pictorial evidence, and maybe I'll do it next time. Na before Kolano, ya do ma shishe cages mu, te send ye ne uwe bubro, ana uwoku, ana o anoma, o tini she cage mu no, na ye nananum, ye nananum we di kamba no, wamun kwada ano shishe cages mu, na sa brofo, en kwada nani nka, wamani wammu ane ye bibifo ni pano, akudi agro. So when you have a president in the person of John Dramani Mahama seeking for reparation justice, and I'm surprised. Say some African countries, big Hokrampua, they are not happy about it. Is it because it is the Ghanaian president? It could have been any other country's president. In any case, when the 32 heads of state met in Addis Ababa, they met with a united front. So why the division in Africa? And come on, Penny, yes, way. Africa is supposed to come together. This is supposed to quicken the motor body of the African Union to fight against a united Africa. An Africa with one high command. An Africa with one military armament. An Africa with one local currency. An Africa with one head of state. An Africa with one capital town. That no, we will poo-poo what he has done. Let me tell you, close to 15 million Africans and abrofo SCP over the transatlantic trade or transatlantic oceans. 15 million people. Now, near you say, now, a man especially, they were naked. Now, near Shisomu, I was shape num, te say sardine, te say moi. And you did chains a chainy one. This was the pains they meted out to our forefathers. Nania Yana say Kwame. So we say, oh Yareka Krebia, you better what to Sunum because they don't need you, they have no use of you. Omu repi yamano to the extent say and Kwadana yawu womno, Oma mama yeni pursue amabrofono, abrofono santon Kwadano e konkwasum because they were not needed in the land of the white race. The pains they went through, the torture, the hurt, the psychological disposition of our forefathers, taken beyond the land of the unknown against their own will. Eti enyema bebre kwaswa or hawa kesiye ana toto yenkrofo. And yedom kodru yeno, yedom ko see plantation so munkonko ye adwuma. Eti anyway brufua ni brufua adwuma na obe say we kwadufua and they were not being paid. History says that the first 23 slaves they could do America no. Now I've forgotten what they call it. There was a title say near mum bibi kakra. I don't think it's true. Yama bibi kakra. These guys were slaves and you are writing to us say they were paying them. Who paid them? And President John Dramani Mahama. And yet me more President John Dramani Mahama dia yamfa asda kakra Emma Samuel Okudjeto Ablakwa, one of the finest foreign ministers ever in Ghanaian history. Ever in Ghanaian history. Ever. Because Ocean Okudjeto Ablakwa eye was the foreign space. I tell you, Ghana nyam. Are you aware, say? Even in 1863, time Abraham Lincoln of United States of America outlaw slave trade. If we necro in America. And so I'm surprised why America even voted against the process. I'm surprised. Because America itself, who said slavery was bad. And so in 1863, it was abolished by Abraham Lincoln. And that is why people like Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, all those guys are held in high esteem in America. Especially Martin Luther King Jr. Americans have even given him a holiday in America to celebrate the role of Martin Luther King Jr. He played in saving the black race in America. So the first country, ladies and gentlemen, I was even expecting, so we'll vote for the process was America. Because America is one of the nations that they enjoy heavily from slavery. And yet they voted against it. Anyway, they have a right to what they want to say. But unfortunately, conscience will always be the judge of history. Conscience will always be the judge of history. And this is why even the reparation agenda is more important. There was a Nagasaki Hiroshima bombings. Have they been compensated or not? They have. Is that worse off than slavery of Africa? So if all those guys have been compensated, why not Africa? Abusia, Obejedi say, when the world outlawed slavery, especially America, in 1863, there was a legal declaration saying the slave masters should be compensated because they have lost their properties. Can you imagine? It is an Esquame Quache, none is slaves 100. Esa say America buying and we are see buying a slave muntino, slavery muntino. Esa enipa 100 na se sia omunya dwuma ma Kwame Kwachi biem no aban ni tuomuka, they were compensated. How can you compensate the slave owner and not or refuse to compensate those who went through those excruciating pains of slavery? How? What logical sense does it make, ladies and gentlemen, that no slave owner no no met out pains on a fellow human being who compensating because human beings also are your properties. Into one man discuss say you just slave when to lose any pan your properties no. But when you park no slave na or year mu or their own compensating. And for those of you who are not aware, the Arab slavery was even worse because for most of the men that went through the Arabian line, they were castrated. Because they thought to say that was the kind of pain our forefathers went through. So when you have a president like John Dramani Mahama, na Kwame Nkrumah ho baneso na nanom akeka nyama bomo samando se omwan ondi abibima animu a look when you be ama wase agem monokro no. The best we could have done for this president is to give him a standing ovation. When if he can shut up. Is either you don't understand history or you don't bear the spirit of Pan-Africanism. Because so bear the spirit of Pan-Africanism, you will not understand the pains of our forefathers. To the extent that Kwame, there were times abrafuni to me na oma kwaje insurance because omukago enipa na ekago no ewurade yehowa etino omukwa na makwaje insurance adan ya na omde cargo ne ba no omde emua ne ba no emua na ya before na ya form slaves no be ya ebia say 50 egu epunum eti omukwa na omakwaje insurance adan ya cargo ne bi egu nsuo no. And it is written, say, in one of the cases, I'm forgetting the man, over 230 something slaves. Insurance. That is the kind of pains our forefathers went through. They worked in cornrows, and that is how cornrow came. It's a man and a mobile muti cornrow no, but because senior no mudia Bruno, they were no mudia Bruno in rows, corn in rows. And that is how cornrow came about. And that's how no mutimi de bomuti ewe brutri. Sana babuti. Kwame, ba mi anse mechanic na uchi na mechanic. Iti ma mi fancy but nyempesi me ketwa to ne say. Se wanya bibia ma wasi amonokro no. The best we can do for President Mahama and the lives of Okudzeto Ablakwa is to support them and give them a standing ovation. A bibre ebre because you are dream kwaso. And I wish Obi Abeka in book Troy Africa in a wheelchair. And then bibini dream say one chef vegan honyefe. And then bibini dream say one pon hoa ne honyefe. Unfortunately, we have enslaved our mentality. And then oko secondary schools, oko primary school, yatro vernacular not allowed. About frane kankre ane abono. Oka hausa ebono, oka chi ebono, oka dagari ebono. Adenya wonka obroni kasa na oyobroni ana. Which serious country in the world aneka ubikasa? Is it Spain? They speak Spanish. Is it Italy? They speak the Italian language. Is it China? They speak Chinese. Is it America or England? They speak English. Which country? Singapore, Singapore, Kasa, Malaysia, Kamale. Which serious country in the world? Our person Tumpoa or other country, Kasa. But Africa, oh God. So you go to some place, they call themselves the Francophone. Other French-speaking countries. And yet, eka French in the Francophone areas, 30%. You come to West Africa, for instance, we call ourselves the Anglophone because you Cambrofo. And yet, over Africa, Cambrofo, you 30%. Ode Ghana, Cambrofo, Cambrofo do better 30%. Do one more training house and away fee. Because ya drilling a won't kwasu. And until the day the black man liberates himself or herself from that evil land of mental slavery, I am telling you, we have not started our journey of life. It is so sad. Makwame, Midisino, Yem President John Dramani Mahama, Yen shedding crying, Niemani Hunusi eternity. The spirit of our forefathers are behind him. Na ejuma oyeno, Kwame, onkosunye. Because that is the only way I ebetimi abu ebibrim. Na sene na Kwame nkoma mu nyina prese anka yebetimi enya one Africano. This is the time sanki betimi akaye ho abom. No bibini obroni nim say before come ho bomu, that is their end. Because they know that 50% of the world gold comes from Africa. They believe that 50% of the world diamonds come from Africa. Women say Africa has the biggest arable land. Ahana would be a fifi, would be a walker fifi. Obi betimi asini da mix cement me and still no be fifi or dinosaur. This is Africa. They be make us a garden of Eden here no and one Africa. Unfortunately, Obroni pese bekabum. Di yan support to John Mahama because AB anani and Kroma esha se when we know a certain John Mahama will have to finish.
Oh, sir, President John Dramani Mahama. In Shishaya, the Jumedi initiative or undertake here or say or championing reparations in some or the UN General Assembly. No. A idea made the Mrs. say President John Dramani Mahama. Why idea at Sigan ebia amain penny for that make efforts omonso eden hihye egu akwan mu try but so a President John Dramani Mahama edisa jumedi we akwakodia wama countries ahodo nyina subscribe even omokrampo a omompenokra no they couldn't vote at best no mo abstain here because person me committee but share countries do draw no any senior subscribe ya agree to no me say and even if nothing happens at all share message President Mahama deliver our UN assembly honum in some way or kaye do catchere abrofo ne wiase aman nyina de fa sa reparation some way no any slave trade in some some no crampo enough a create that awareness you know about reparations they do and some now President John Dramani Mahama de kotu jano the opportunity say said that koko for ne ode yeka Mahama ode yeka Mahama so ko ero no so kotu the same slogan abrofofo mode yeka na che say oma abrofo na hu say sa slave trade na edi kan course so ewo biasa fa na nyina no Africans ne blacks no yen ya bre won asofa you lose a lot because of this slave trade there course no na matise nkrofobi unim say sa de na Mahama ye no unim say bibifo ya na ye hu ena me hu say Manase Azuri eni nkrofobi trochro ensem bi pese omo nkyere say President John Dramani Mahama petition no dey call you en ho no emunye duru anase hu nhia say odo kra sa that narrative no obe push because at the end of the day no slave trade na happen here no a trade business be happening between local collaborators and abrofo na omoton blacks and the man omo no say President John Dramani Mahama seek any form of reparation and I say or making some any demand be from abrofo no mo or no so admit accept say yeah ankasa be before no so no ye ka ho sasa no mo kana me no mo nya adwin say in the first place obia ni hono mo a or yes slave or no ankasa voluntarily no or no ankasa eko join ni queue say maba me pese me yes slave nti mo fa me nko obia did ko bia was forced
taken against their will
it was foisted on them. They were forced to become slaves in the first place again. Adia I say ohun say ohwe the numbers no a omo na omo ye perpetrators omo ye parts of the slave trade no omo ye the local people no how many no omo dodo ye saying as against nkrofo a ye de ko amanoni it is a the nkrofo a because of omo greed any omo selfish interest a business against the interest of the majority in masses no a adan na opese wo blame because na me no ka say ya say bibi ba e bibi for no abi sutimi eye omunyonko bibi for bone be no so nkire say sa nipa na wa bone no Ghana fo nyina se bone ba ye de be hye nyina ana me boa enti sa argument no mo ka say yen blame ye ho na yen so ye benefit and how did we benefit tio and
w at the papa the was slave trading like
tie at the papa omu no ye omu ye direct beneficiaries no and that me no ka say as blacks and as Ghanaians are your witnesses are slave trade we mami ade ye monumental a obetumi agina so akasa ade we the slave trade so far so ye nyaye as a people ni but uko UK uko US uko amanone any European countries na who benefits no
UK has the biggest gold reserve
me say if you po Prince Charles
yes
ne carriage no ne horse otenamu no enye gold plated and I say yanka say ebi aye spray o the whole thing ni nyina no aye gold efi dia omom gold e fanom kutu no me no kasa sisi backless so dem say backless bank aye slaves
is on friend absa
but I don't know the amount of another company, but the original backlist establishment. Yeah, the slaves Ankasa. Wouldn't say a Niama Bebre Koswa and benefiting. Oko America, at least Oko She Chronoa, a developer could do the Pempens one. A year before no Medici Chrono. It's him say benefits the Yenya, it's a general money a case. Omo metua yenka omo de yenka ana bibi wo compensation bi wo no mo ai deserve
America mo de yenka
say America omo de yenka UN mo de yenka UK European countries no mo de yenka iti say ye demand a enye say ye pese ye nkire say affect yen ana say demands that you make pedestrian there be a big deal big issue the man ye just say President John Dramani Mahama ye nyina ye kabom near support this call now making it say no.
But I just saw you Tibon Koso. And you stand against this.
But I don't get it. To you say Omodia.
I just want Tibon Koso. And I don't understand history.
Adena Air Koso and ya don't be supporting President John Drama just because say bia Omuni President Amanyukro political party no enya drink ebia omo another political party no. But who's a minority leader Afenyo Maki on the floor of parliament made an attempt to stop Senka on discrediting President John Dramani Mahama. Now on downplay the Oyenina, but I did forget and says exercise we na dia starting and rap and as a President John Dramani Mahama keke.
For the time
for the time
do downplay
yes it's no downplay and that is when you government or power crown almost start and it means that one can na who need information as na who need the
me person be any hwade bi o say time wa background ne JB dan kwamane ho sa squad no started some person independence no ude hwade o omo try ya omo intimanye ana enkroma ebae enkroma person of fight for independence no the same JB Dankwa in Komininis started writing letters to Obroni or Hima said they should not grant us independence. Okay, and it's an no. Eventually, Nkrumah benya independence. When you say history na repeat because on Akufo-Addo those guys also started with this reparation agenda, which is more of second independence of Africa. And a certain John Dramani Mahama, who is an Nkrumahist. Aba ene the Penyo Markins and all those guys want to discredit him, but eventually they have voted on it, and UN has declared it a sin against humanity.
One say the point in say nkrofo bi wo ho no mu asade eni omo a na wo ba bi fufuro bi anu a ebola just because say na enye omo e na omo make sure say ebe ebesi anase faso e wo so no ye be benefit no say enye omo dia ene ye say ye pupu na ye discredit no. It's the same thing. Once a Kwame Nkrumah time na ombi ebenya independence omo ye say ye de Kwame Nkrumah ti ebeto kwan so no. Buzia on the floor of parliament. See there be other near the Kwame Nkrumah ti ebeto kwan so yenko so anfa Queen of England. Even postage stamps are na o kra na yes sa no the Kwame Nkrumah to ko mo ye hu demonstration. E ye hu press conference. Meaning so the question we be banka made brew full publication na. All these attempts, almost troll letter, you're ready for independence. Meanwhile, no, almost troll letter, say independence here, coming from Mum Grant. No, Sankrofon and there myself for mum, aided this or papa no mum fight here, at independence, at G2, or GC or Magana. On the double standards, and this and no yama. It's no, all the young Fankogu, the SNSC, the way an Indian bomb by. In Kobawa send the econo, or more me say yes, sir, or more person to futuru, no one creating impression me. Say Obroni beye and papa say or slave trade no the and you are benefiting from no omo akasa to me ma one single example la obetumi agina so akasa say example we there slave trade eson fa so pa inya ni meanwhile omo aye ka asem no against them no it's obvious ye nyina ehu benefits a omo nya eye tangible and intangible and nyina direct and indirect you say slave trade no mania. Intino, kudos to President John Dramani Mahama and the team. And Mate say, Ora Spioga Brakraka say, the Danish people no crano, I contact them, reach out. Or my say artifacts be and also a video over 400 years ago. No, or my imagine some merit and some of these artifacts. The Amagana and Komo Koso. Intino. The benefits in near you, but artifact winning or value in terms of
tourism,
financial near it is an Indian apple beba, Indian also count. And museums are some of the exhibits are more no more. Ye display strength of ye no a handful no mutia and chicha and a CC or no more. Omo display or no show nkrofo ye kunkum omo sa na mani nyina no e kire say ye di amia papa as a people nti no enya ade a esese ye tumi esusoso sa nti me dey I'm glad say sa nkomo
Mate Divine Nkrumah then the now yeah tifu anim free ho na say ye mra pack ye okay ene ye ngram na phone sensem no sorry no ye hwe ne far ba ene ba bia ye kwakodu.
Okay me da say onim yesesa hwinya na eni enya ena enka obi enya ya na kasembo ne de enko achirichiri mfa ma obi a but eto da bia obeda be sorry no na ene mebo no ma ye inevitable a ontumi nya ho hwe enti no na akwese say obefa ne saa na wo wa plan aye won hihye a strategize against the storm hwe on for prices here ekoso a transport operators fire margin say this year no one be increase omo first and we share omo provide goods and services and so our economy no ma do na so hwe come mefa so a on be review omo prices ni senior charges no echo. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate see ababedu sa baby ababedu. Na me there in all of this quagmire yeah finding ourselves in no ababedu san pempen so no. Me gidi say senka enye President John Dramani Mahama pa buying the waswa. Like I don't know how issues we nyina no a bit to me address it because imagine say dollar even below 11 cedis so dollar to cedi no even below 11 cedis and no pokra na fuel prices no at say in case ya what chain all free you so imagine say na Kenya dia the cedi to dollar no enye stable kakra na ka volatile na ka ende enye nkomo a ye di ni because me no ka say ye nyina ye nim say fuel pricing no two factors and influence one exogenous which is external influence external factors and affect which is international market no say cost ra untumi nka say akosoro ho na wote wode so eden ebeko ena endogenous factors no ye wankasa as a country no kwan a obefa so awon so manage wo economy no se na be ya o sika no be yedru o ti ase emu yedru no o de kwa adwaman so a etumi tonya ma bebre unhia dodo na ade akọ enti na me no ka say for our local economic engineering no yeah kasa yeah nyama bebre ono mo ya manage ni but exogenous factors na agi ensem because we don't have control over it and now me no ka say when you say Ghana's economy no import driven economy nyama dodo no ye kra ena ye deba nti no o kra nyama no so deba no na obehia say obehia mo usika ne mu be edu na watumi o sesa e de $1 ne mu a o de trade a obetumi enya so emfa so na mate se nkrofo bi mu make argument bi say sesi ade NDC ne President John Dramani Mahama omo kama no aba so quick abantem na first no a omo ka kire yen say Russia-Ukraine war enti na economy no enioma ejija wo mu enu ti na niama nye stable no what they forget no say even President John Dramani Mahama banwe buy Russia-Ukraine war no njai yo egusu o kra na mu aye den Usha Ghana for ibi omo register ya omo get part of the war
so many geopolitical factors
yes but even in the midst of this crisis ni na no say President John Dramani Mahama and now no ka say President Nana Akufo-Addo time na inflation no and now 54
2022
and now aban we aba edu baby no ochemu e dey call 5.4 and now no ka say we say 3.2
okay
inflation rate 3.2
okay
3.3
yeah.
inflation rate no baby e dano no what it means say even as Ghanaians no your purchasing power no e was soro chain kamen no
UK 3%.
It means that aban no abon the home model and then ohwe yen the value of the cedi no against other foreign currencies the whole of Africa you see open currency just abon the home model pa we gina na so in this short time 1 year you ya even say cedi enye say magic obi na dey hihye egu akwan mu na ababedu saa empempen so we again so wo hwe eniema aban we ehihye odigu akwan mu a utimu say omaye omadwen say eniema no ombe hwe magana for wan han mu so what is the president say senya fuel prices na ekọ no saa di levy no omo consider kwan a say ya na bekode a omo hwe kwan omo fa so a omo be yi saa tax component no 1 cedi no edi a free honum na Ghana for one hand kakra.
I don't know ya hwe ya fa challenge ma because saa 1 cedi no so na ye dey to IPP send be even your constant support.
Yes, once a baby once a economy no send yet no ye balance no ebi ono mu a e fa ha ebi ono mu anso a na akonchen kakra.
Okay.
Eteni u gani wa ha no na wo lusu o baby enye flat sa fo akodi ombo ni wi a na the subject to omo nsem no omo aka no a no mo dwane free ho. It's good say Honorable Samson Ayi baby obi an wa say na daje etumi straighten some of the offense nsem Honorable Ladomako Ochrebefi e de betu dwa na in Ukraine nimu because some take over ministry. Wow.
In fact, or take you over Ochrebefi position.
Yeah.
As deputy minister.
It's good to say what be streeting or setting records in the streets. Because some of the things we know one year careful because me no even for me say sir Ochrebefi asema waka about so any some of the fact companies almost no collapse. I mean nim time come yes sir almost close almost shutting those companies down from operating.
Okay.
Because me per my information, almost system ni mu dada. Wow, into construction and I say, use cement. You know, say where you go, you find them. They're on the market. So we need baby kwa. Kind again. These cement factories, companies, you're working. The SWA government, you know, na any shiao. Wouldn't say all the efforts are local producers for years on be share by Dinkita. That time KTM. Even there was one meeting now, Omudu on one. Na KTM on more share meeting that after journalists. And Uncle Fona Ban said, Debbie, you know, wouldn't come away. There by the sign one friends and trough for some Mumbrana or Mumbet day. And it looks like a much wrong statement that it's Umbet Nasia. Mama Kaya, they are told. Producers for no to say, Muni now margin, and Uncle sorry coy. The other time also someone to be antennas. So I bear to say the intransigent position and a binder dana fan.
Maybe an meeting was a woman.
Meeting be. I went to me and Bobu someone no more few on meeting come fast so I must say or more collapse some of these companies because I almost say local producers for no any advantage over foreign import. Na make asem about a friend say fuel prices na baby akwa kodu no listen here na o share abanda da for no mu MPP for no opposition for no bi kasa no na it say on person mo kire say at the time wa omo mismanage economy no be do pempen so no omo problem ni nyina no omo de share Russia Ukraine war omo de share COVID-19 but the enti Ghana for ani omanya adwe anti ase amomo no is because at the time wa no omo ka kire ye say omo ani mo yedi munyina mo mbom aboso na mo mbom keshiri na ye hwe kon be fa so a ye be manage ni amaka kakra no that time no na omo live extravagant profligate lifestyle just that time no mo di eni omo ye ni am eni ye ade kire ye because fanisa we say Russia Ukraine war aba we see COVID aba ma economy no ni am agege nsem na se we say obesi cathedral akotu amana donko we emfa hwe nsimu awesti Ghana fosi kana Ghana fo catch ade awuyi jai ade awuyi jai o se there be mean jai obesi na explain it to Ghana for someone to assess Russia Ukraine war because your lifestyle no interest o man ni mu ayede
we insensitive
hwe say busi o man ni mu ayede na donko Land Cruiser afa akonya obetena so na edi nachi na baby onenam bia
o ka ya na ema
yes
ya bro kroma
ya bre
akonya no say air condition
car onunko da Land Cruiser ba akumu
na ya garden no everybody
hwe say ya ti asay ni e ka cho say osi o man ni mu ayedin sika ni honom nti Russia Ukraine war na wankasa members of parliamentary candidates who can finish at 30. Sagnarigu parliamentary candidate.
Yeah, you see a man is
Ose mo edin. Okay, yati ase. No ba ye no. Ni leak tape ba bonte o see. COVID-19 sika no kra no ni share the man no that time 100,000.
Yeah.
Or the check constituency no kra says cannot find your share.
So when you are 50 as MP, I know saying you are 50 as executive.
Yes.
Okay, executive.
So, what you share COVID-19 na mo complain here no. Say, enu na me economy ni mo ayede no. Mo de ho sika. Hwe at the time of COVID-19 buy no kai say a World Bank for Emma Ghana for sika. Omo ma countries affected countries no.
Yeah.
Sika puduo. Sa sika no be do here no. Ya de call parliament say mo be kire say sika no mo di sika no mo ntumi account for. Sika no be be fire. Mo be kire ma mo se mo di obi aka. Mo hu hia se mo be kire obi e mo. Enti no sa suban na mo da na di amoka say omani mo ayeden no. Say na me no ka say President John Dramani Mahama Otu try. Say you see ene US Israel Iran war. E mo ayeden amane affect yen fuel any economy. Enti no esese nyina ebo aboso ne mama ede. Opa onko ka say okoto cathedral so. No hwe on the opa sa D-levy or the abbey. Omo jiji sa tax ni wi a opa onko chairman constituency executives dey enko to abonten say D-levy sika no ba ye no ye chairman constituency executives no hwe say Ghana for be react say obi enu onu mo a obetu intensifita dey Prez Mahama say or mismanage economy no in this crisis no na SEO ya man fans embaso nobody will support Bibisa. Until MPP for no idea so much difference no say.
Yeah.
Adia ye kai and it's a time when no more catch us on money more no. Now on man penny ye catch and say until the number of ministers near appointees do one so now money more day. Ni nyina ye boy boss one. That time no now appoint more ministers or ye be 3 or ye be 4. It is that time no also money more day sika ni wo na ka wo expect say nipa dodo no a aka no ye benya sika wo hia aboy ho be na wa bra wo appoint ministers a so wo ka France, Italy, UK and China for number of ministers, these 4 countries ministers bomu a na edos ndu Ghana for de Ghana for ministers ni appointees edos chain the whole world na do wudi kan satan so mani mai de te so wonte so enti sa na ma wom nyina ya de na Ghana for ye ni tua ye hu se na mo mismanage o minor sign yama enti no mamum be compare na again o hwe aban we se na oye ne niama clearly no who say difference wo my omadwin say omu be kati omu quote according to omu size a omu maniama emboboro omu so what you say bibi omu ye bia o hwe se no manage inflation mo manage CD to dollar foreign currencies o hwe se na foreign debt and na me no ka se o hwe se no ma clear ye debt ni mu dodo no a hwe ye ratings internationally I will say e wo soro aban no ade niam agu akwan mu nti no empire na me bo se sa wo yi en kosoa nche because e koso cha e be ha dwen because refineries na omo processing fuels no ayeto no ana use no na US any Israel for no so no target say me no ka say oba bombe some of the refineries are and also ka ho omo target into no yesre but adeba ko so me be hu ni say on say this free market economy ya operating in Ghana CCA microphone so abuse no exploit it, take advantage of.
Okay.
Ti say na me no ka say mate say drivers for no do no some person mo to omo transport fare mu me bisa o hwe diesel any petrol this fuel types we no commercial vehicles trucks ne kasa do no na use diesel anamebwa and then no akosoro marginally by 4 cedis na say akosoro kakra the rate is so petrol akosoro no enye the same enti say see e ba beto fuel mu say am no kasa taxis any Uber any other consumers of petrol no omo to be in kasa be use diesel rates
abetum
e de ababetum wa bra ya ntum the same
on use diesel
wo de ne nkosoro se ne diesel akosoro no na wo say VIP bus ana say ovan bi ewo cycle no loadi no use diesel wo use petrol na wo de ne nkoye no wo say ya tumu the same rate in the percentage no ena ye fan tum eno de wo ya saade a na je say eno so be mi hu say ho no problem kese e ho no mu a ese ye ka ho asem ena again send ye tutututu nyama mu no ye nim say fu ho no de e kosoro but sometimes dwadifo no omubu yan fa so obi ho no mu a hwe okọ farm gate na say dwadifo kwa koto farm produce omu koto in yabaye tonton yi ti se tomato no de keka ho ubekọ no price a o makọ akoto ade na bi wo mbe load truck ni nyina beba Accra no e ka wa bo one ebia brother batim ba ko se ho no
another is body duro
and even the whole track ni nyina ebia ka wa kra ni 5000 ade no koto nyina akra so ebi kra so a endu we enso beba no wo hwe the way a omu betu ade ni mu I exaggerate ya man look say hey economy fu on the price ni nti ena ya no mo obia toto no nyamem ena nansa meto pebbles golden tree pebbles ya Ghana ya ni ya toto man kolai bi share bi traffic mu a branch de ma me 120 cities and I thought say ne bo akosoro unim say me call one of the Shell malls around Ridge.
Okay.
The same, and Kahono, as you miss a Kadabo Kwabe Kosron, me coton 68 cities.
The same thing.
The same thing. As some way, Maka, Messazo Timubu last time, me see in Kolankola, Toy Gan CB, our traffic. A branch and say, be beside the boy, me and I'm in ready to say, but I'm person me who or say 120 cities. 120 cities. Every day, me and me share that. Okay, 120 minutes. I mean, turn me so the memo 30. Thinking so, Becca said 30 there from 120 to 30 there. It's a dodo. It's your NG. Yeah. I see you Fabre. I say Fabre.
120 to say.
From 120, me say 130 or say Fabre. And no can Fabre. No, it's okay. Mukra.
What will it no possible?
It's a Mukra. No, Utimu say. Why do we do this to ourselves? It's just a to me tonight. I say. ND ehun ni say obi abedi no kure ama ne nyonko ayembu ye nyonko mfaso because sometimes no ubisa won say na dey we hwe but I you can't even think far, you can't even understand say obeko na obi so organizer oso watu na di mu ubisa say den na aba na watu mu a
organizer no enfrema no
no like who osio hwe say you say inflation say na sata mafu obo e form no a obekọ no na nipa na dia na etua 3 cedi no o se se ade o ya oje 5 cedi
dan me to kosia ya
then aba
am se kosia na 5 cedi na me say kosia de say moturu mu no mo de ko 35 o to kosia ma 5 kosia ya no a na me say no we de ekro no we nya ayi bia kosia ya no a the worst is for Ghana
de bio na then aba
akwane to ye na no anso hie no a utwi mako no. Wow. Very well. Me brother here be kan yensa. Na no fugu no utim say yes. Utim say o say
ana fugu Wednesday.
Yes. Nice, I can divine there. Na I mean what power I find because Charlie fugu body. Me on about penny mark intimento. Position here.
And ya. Yes, and ya say this for the class say you promote fugu Ghana. I'm ya. And people say I'm ya wo.
That some catch us me na me home. Oh, me do ma for baby. Oh, me do ma for baby.
Ya shitwa sa say one crowd the MPP.
Oh, am here. Oh, money mo. Divine. Oh, name dey smese. Oh, serious? Na baby am do ma fan so. Me track kan nyame nyina. Me kwa chiro. It is here no. I bet it is na gu. They say I'm a pressure group.
Because obi jomo
Oh, there be me.
And I statement that let's say half an hour make ya and foreign affairs minister okay to be man. It's like they don't know the history of this country.
Oh,
and when they go to school and they are being taught, they don't want to listen if it does not align with their party.
That be sign of my own.
Why in the spiritual realm?
Spiritually, no, and some people can be an emphaquem. Oh, Charlie, yeah, me quite true.
I don't know too.
Timina me MPP. Why? The Yamina me yomwa. It's a movie.
And I'm very sure no. I'm a solution because
it's a moody. Am I ready some power?
They are not ready.
Oh, MPP. Bra, kajagum abi parking semwin. Hona nkayeko. 21 million ye de query renovation.
Yeah.
Our 67th independence but later is it change ya nyo me de ya nyo ho no nyame problem because the place we needed to renovate anyways. But the quantum 21 million Ghana na yet 210 billion. Renovation omde yet saying omde yet dey. And yeah, sure no other corruption related matters need him come fuel I to so no and also reparation agenda or to be a per se Ufabia.
Nana Otu Darko.
International
incoming Deputy National Communication Officer.
Yeah, why don't send the affair?
Nana Michelle.
Josumira.
Na asema idedwa so ayekan. Enra na ebeda die. Say na MPP for omuhu say omu be kwako opposition no. Na e wo say omu ndi dream. Sa asem no ya ka. Na em say bra omu fra ban mu yi. Afi na yehu de course ankasa. Now before say me ko asem we so ankasa no. There is something going on about some of the NDC appointees, some of the NDC ministers. I was say idika na yantwe NDC for so ya adwen emphasis so say the bear will be very cautious of our own self and know where we are coming from and how to protect and preserve the power that we are having today. And yet the dubious machinations of the new patriotic party to throw a bad perception, an untruthful and a cook perception about NDC appointees. Say, adia omunye ye krano. Ombe contracted some of MPP media for na. Omube ye propagation for a falsehood and a false news against some of the NDC appointees. And they say, oh yeah, NDC appointee. Now say also, if you don't reason deeper, you may dive into the direction of the new patriotic party.
On set agenda now.
So what they have been doing in recent time, they will take a certain minister and then they will focus in your constituency. And then your constituency, you know, every constituency has its own dynamics.
Okay.
Baby to say, I was West Wugon. Urban constituency
elite community
I develop with that. The situation at Ayawaso West Wugon constituency is quite different from the situation at a constituency like Amasaman.
Correct.
And when we have an MP from Amasaman, an MP from Ayawaso West Wugon, another MP from Kole Klotia, issues these MPs will be dealing with, you know, there are different issues altogether. Some may be similar, some may be common, but issues, the real issues on the ground, no, some are far different because Ufa Bibiti say insio, Uka Masamana, a developing community.
That's right.
And insio Samno, Unyano, and to Kobe Pia, our Masama community, they say, oh, baby, to say Kole Klote. The road network at Amasaman constituency, Dona Blabon constituency, English Amman from constituency, Ningo Pram constituency, at that constituency, the road network there cannot be compared to the road network in Kole Klote, Ablekuma Central, Ayawaso West Wugon, and Ayawaso East constituency. And see, what the MPP is doing is say, I'm for some media phobia. Now, I'm use you an example. Say, young share obiti say MP for I was West Wugon. The friend is say, John Domelo. John Domele, look at the road network as John Domele constituency. Now you do bit say Honorable Sam George, MP for Ningo Pram Pram. Ningo Pram Pram. Unim say a constituency. Yes, it's merging community constituency. Having a developmental project, air cost road network. Having a improve our constituency like Ningo Pram Pram. And they will take the 2 MPs out in NDC for. Now we did your urban constituency no. Na Juma akwa koto the war.
Be cranny or urban and son of a background.
I
said Ubi MP Colloquial Sahanum Laboni.
Yeah.
Now, I feel maybe MP will have made the Kanka, made a Quanka.
The only Quanka. It's your some any much of a problem. Baby to say electricity is not much of a problem. Baby to say schools. Any much of a problem in constituency like Colloquial.
They would compare fancy aqua south. I mean,
the margin, the difference is wide. And he on say what they are doing, no. And I said to tag some of NDC MPs are Juma strongly a national campaign mind this bar power. And to obey to say Honorable Sam George. Need the end example because in the last 2 weeks now, what I've been seeing them doing is far some of the community people are MP before now. Then they go to some place maybe a gata, choke gata be war, and I say maybe a special need be war. I work for a very long time. MP before power 8 good years ago. Man to manya home shino. No more could now on the MP before now more no. Then they are speaking ill about the constituency. Say, hey, Honorable Sam George, Tama na this war position no. We a national campaign. U kasaye, we say, ebi ana ni man kwa pono anka o. But no mako jina sa ni amana ebi a problem. Wo kakra no. Then they compare it to a constituency in a urban constituency like Colloquial, Iowa West Wogon and others. And say we NDC ni MP. And I say we NDC ni ankasa so NDC member. Now say one pay attention deeply. You may be washed into that. Now what develops some bad perception about the performance of your own MPs. Then you start going after them. We need to be cautious and aware about the agenda of the new patriotic party. Now maybe you have some George there. Me catch and say on kana kumantuni yam because ye nim say onim de ankasa. Ye nim say Sam George is a good member of parliament. He is representing his people so well. And he knows the left and right of the constituency is coming from Ningo Pram Pram. Onim say Sam George has been a neck in the neck of MPP. Tamane opposition. Especially these LGBTQ plus issues.
Yeah.
Unim say he was a champion. Ghana for Biaten and Camp. Recently, Krano, Pastor Bibeka said Ghana for be nyatum. Say Sam George and you one na ojina Ghana for near Christo 4 ya name brana LGBTQ plus issue baye. Now all of a sudden, na Ghana for na ampo emenu do ye no Ghana for be they are also coming after Sam George. So the man was like, this man should stand firm. We need prayers for Sam George. Because when you want to stand for the truth in this country, your own people, they will turn your people against you. Now, what is going on in Ningo Pram Pram? No, it is not anything. No, it is the LGBTQ plus community. Okay, they are propagating a falsehood against Sam George, just to make sure say Sam George, prime minister and also but you come match say this thing is not going to work. It is not going up. It is not going down. It is not going nowhere. Sam George is still in charge, and you continue to be in charge. We trust in him. He's bold. He's fearless. He's courageous. And so we want to encourage him. And all other NDC MPs are Omuya nationalistic campaign as making sure say NDC beba power no. Omubaye me come refi obi to say Samoloku Jeto Abrakwa obi to say Sami Jemfi. You see these some people they like coming against and attack our strong guys so that if we are not careful we will fall into that line. So I don't know they make our no. Secondly, on the issue of Sika they call renovate Independence Square 2024 I think say na 6 March anniversary me boa
this March
MP before him say omo ba the co-position 2024 enzi na omo pekwan bi so a Ghana sika kakra e wo no ombe yisu sika ni nyina ma sika na den asan enu nti na omo koye sa de no na munim say anniversary na nkasa no mo be celebrating wo other constituencies other regions na ma plan dada and na mama contract say yen ko renovate Independence Square and ya ko renovate e mini do ye no mo si o celebration ankasa no ye na fa nko Accra Independence Square biom na ye de kwa akọ Eastern region Kofodua sada na yesi so tobo mo pa sa wote ye so toy papa Nyankopon pe bone na Nyankopon na punish o mete se kakra bi kankofo bi kra ya tete ahwe Independence Square ho am ko celebrity wo Jackson Park wo Kofodua na ye ka ni nyina no anka obi nka se my ye renovate Independence Square derby obi nka sa say ade na ya hwe the situation report grounds you share the architectural situation of the buildings and the facility now say it calls for a renovation. Why not? We are talking about the quantum of money that was used in the renovation work. That is what we are talking about here. The quantum of money we are talking about is 210 million Ghana cedis.
21 million, so 210 billion.
21 million Ghana cedis. 210 billion.
Yes.
Sikana ye kano masa. I think say between Independence Square no craft flow.
Basic. No basic flow. I mean that's much.
This money can build new Independence Square.
If not two.
It can even build like three.
It can
210 billion.
No, but the Independence Square, you know. You can build like 5.
And the grounds.
Grounds they be on the board by Edinka.
Now grounds now 5 million Ghana cedis, but my grounds now. So many okay. Grounds now on 5 million, 50 billion. Let me say grounds now on. Now the grounds now.
Independence and a building now on.
And structure no idea.
My building now on Ankasa nebo saying. So building need me for a
painting work. Painting of Independence Square.
Renovation.
Painting of Independence Square. Painting and the renovation. What went into the renovation? They should bring the actual scope of work when it comes to the renovation. It is painting work, readjustment of the seats.
And maybe if there are some small structural defects,
then they'll do it.
Touch.
I didn't know so machines been on to toy. I didn't know Independence Square 2023. Independence Square. Yeah, but 2024 asanya mana sa honum. That's the gap. And I'm asanya sa the bachelor. 2023. What was the state of Independence Square in 2023? A calling for renovation in 2024. You could use Sika to 21 million Ghana cedis. That's equivalent to old Ghana cedis 210 billion. MPP 45 and the renovation. Now, our minor year, some people for power. The NDC for Yachichere Diato Futum, Ediama Ghana phone in Yano. Diana Ambian say. And this for better children as the crack fund, way fund, education fund, health fund, infrastructure fund, energy sector levy, fund this animal. You better purpose the canka credit to Safuto win name. Say a maybe ba, not say any power bioma. Then people come and squander everything. Then they'll leave us empty. Then for us to and say we are actually begging. Say they should really investigate. Now, I was not surprised. Say the auditor reports. And this idea we a boss says Sika win and before year. Now so easy independence celebration Nankasano. They are celebrating the war. Across Independence Square now they call Kofodua Jackson Park. They have to go into it. If the special prosecutor will really take it serious and go into it, and now Yoko, and now say all the Attorney General, they would like to dive into the matter and look at it critically. And say, obey this baby or baby.
Yeah, organized crime. You could take it.
Yes, organized crime.
As a Krofwa Kabu Medic.
Let's go with one on here. Most of the times, the procurement law, I have always been calling for a certain amendment of the procurement law because people use the procurement law to abuse this country and rape us. And the procurement law, because what was the process, what was the method, what was the scope of work and everything, it must be properly defined in the procurement act so that
especially even with sole source in the crown, SSR portion of Emrano, yes, Emrano in tier sole source.
Yes,
but say me. If I want to use that particular Emranoa, you just find a loophole there and make sure say you sole source because Emrano in tier and get your bigger share from that end.
Yeah. Let me take this opportunity to educate some people about the sole sourcing and the single source. On say because the sole sourcing na on, o person ko to dia, so ni say ade na akwakoto nipa ba ko pe and ton. You have no option than to sort from him. Let's say this console you want to go and procure.
Yes.
Local market, there's only one manufacturer of the console.
Okay.
So you have no option as a procurement professional or procurement officer for an entity to buy from this manufacturer of the console. But there are single source whereby I don't know, there are multiple suppliers, multiple manufacturers in the market, but you choose to say a single source and award the contract to one person. That is the single source. So most of the time people
use them interchangeable.
There's a difference between it. Now, MPP for no any man no. They said the people normally want to abuse it through the source source no. And now NDC for say we don't like the source source, the single source in Pekasa. But here can say Adiana Wakotono. Say ye bienu na ebe competitive tendering a certain procurement method na competitive tendering na who the compare prices now be nyana et saying also omo yeso as a single source na eya na omo inflate amount e be times 3 times 4 anka obiemu di ma ebe ye competitive tendering na e bia na price na one of the times 3 that omo use ye. That is what they use to grab this country. Baby to say Independence Square ya amko renovation anka omo use open and competitive tendering na. But what I say Nanka, you bet me no beer. I think say can check price in 21 cry be a bit with the best 7 million Ghana cedis pay. Acquire that renovation, but they'll go behind and use that procurement method.
But can't we use 5 million cedis to do in the Independence Square?
You bet me you bet me
5 million cedis to do all those renovations. 5 million 50 billion. No.
But when him say now too.
And when you muska, but
I question say. When him say MPP for a great Jessica where I said now yesterday. The also Tama Defense Ministry or move visit the Public Account Committee last 3 days, I think so. Would him someone recommend say the then that of procurement are not Ministry of Defense no. Yeah, interdict no. Yeah, Deputy Majority Leader, Honorable your friend is saying this MP, Deputy Majority Leader, me bone me kind di na unim say I recommend say papa no ye interdict no
oh the dimba na ko
was say akwana dia odi ye no unim say I recommend say ye kwa koto
Rickett Hagan
there be Rickett Hagan
deputy majority
yeah a majority chief whip na make an asem
okay majority leader okay deputy
no majority chief whip on make an asem oh the MP from this voter region from voter region. Oh,
Rebecca.
Is Dafia Makpo?
Dafia Makpo.
Yes, Dafia Makpo. You believe in rough, fantastic man. Okoto pick up Mako says. Says pick up we 4.8 million Ghana cedis. Public Account Committee reports. Now procurement director and invite no man be facing committee near Busan Wasem no. Pick up no krano yan deliver. Supplier no mpo and deliver pick up no.
Ye try there.
Ye tuaka. MPP for no rots bebele koso but only one go kase konfo se ko.
Ja kana ho ekra ne ache no.
Me say only one go kase konfo se ko. Because say asema before can say NDC for asema makase aboko no agboko ni. Say am pass aboko na mo na mo de na matching dia no de na tum. It's yesre. Yesterday I was so glad. Bra President Carr said now they are going to engage some of the private legal firms and private lawyers to prosecute some of these crimes, especially about the Orano. What is our news no? President Carr come on or yes, meeting with the civil society organization. Okay, and I want it to be done assiduously. Said the beya omo dream one people time. Nansen because of seriousness name business na the attorney general and deputy justice side fantastic man the man he's always on the ground he's always working man busy to the sense say cases no they alone cannot handle all they can't prosecute of them so they are going to engage some private legal firms and private legal practitioners on this so that they can also come in and fasten the various cases. And number boying, am I yet me anya a certain level, Magana phone now, or Makuma Tima Tomuyam. And you know, I think so far so good. I like the position of the president. We should engage the private legal firms and legal practitioners so that they can also come in and then prosecute these criminals.
Okay, myself about chain, but divine yet 5 minutes on the yeah, but me opposition on especially independence celebrations. Now, what your contractor is anywhere on a face value. Maybe I can make the 5 million bit me.
Oh, $5 million.
Because me who they be a whole more. A painting here.
Obeka say na agents them sir. Unse Ghana procurement. Your problem na your procurement. Your crofobia didi. And so clearly no.
And now 10 million vessel.
Oh me no, me a dozen, scan a dozen. But when you say value for money no there, to there be a whole can once more. Unto me baby out the because me dey hear me they say be spend this cow baby. Na ye dedicate funds be say find project that. Let us say objectives I outline say any saying and I this esika we ekwe this adwumadi we say na ye ti hey say you see ebia studio has here new cameras new console ni amaniama but I also say bia e say ebia mo sound quality no mo niama improve and utia so if say you see ye twesika bi dia to onum say ye di renovate Independence Square, right?
Yeah.
Na butai da so no say you see the Independence celebration. Na ye this kind of command contractor ni wie ye adwuma ni wie ya. You see ehun hia. Inti ne ba koye project no wa another place. Ubi evu sa no a now it is who waste resources because look at the time I'm catching Russia Ukraine war yasem ya COVID-19 and we this asem you. It imagine so many more thing now we are wasteful because sometimes we be enya ya nka obese sanema on them obese sanema on fie but conditions now we go to come na be chere say at this point no prudence say obe to ade we and na to ade we e to da bia unya talebi anka be she ba school fees wo hu hia nti no
intimation
unhye now the tua school fees no hoping say unya scafo from ya de beto hwe say yes ho kire ya ma ekokrafo sika omoto bond musi because of a scare ni ho omusika mu bond events domestic debt exchange program so omusika mo defer payment they are called 5 to 15 years time so omunkonko na wunya sa sika ni bi a o se da bi manya sika me de ko akwa ye wasteful project bi even pon se hu hia na se nya ade a obeyi so a ene hold on na kakofo dia ono munya ne sai se ebia mo manage oman ni sika se na be ya oman no be hen no but clearly no ngrofo no munya oman din se omo
be same thing na President Mahama ye na kakra bi
asu say yi
na bi obi
unim bia ya kran so de say public accounts committee find this year ngrofo di Ghana wo ohun ayi abranti ya see be charge no na ye the number AG Attorney General for prosecution Director of procurement for friends the Ministry of Defense no hwase mo moka just a cast club akokoto no look at Kalabuli any Azania ma omo ye omo de akoto sa kasi omo wie ya onu se ne kasi ntumi nkyere bia kasi ne so ubisa no a ontumi mansa ontumi respond and I make say so mo toyo so man to wa hi enso se scan ko close to 5 million eko now we have a catch there say Russia Ukraine war.
Sometimes when you see some politicians living like Arabian kings, don't be envious.
I didn't see.
Oh, massa. Nani ekukosui. Sometimes Crofobia say be we sit down by. I'm not saying some mobra, but Obu on my team say she say cast was a son of back to back. we see feel na like don't be chrono, most of them chrono. I don't see a beauty of my one more chrono. What kind of a country system is that? Do you bebru or my way as a youth? Genuine, Opa, why didn't so bad genuine work when you know the was I say so? Me na me catch just about bodia. Say bia, ubasa so you be genuine. So to that, my salary I said we are going to mameno. I will live on it forever and ever. I will die a pauper, and that is the gospel truth. You always
you're talking about.
How you are intelligent, like we don't respect Nyansa. Just when you finish and one. How can we build a society like that?
I think we need to reorient our mindset.
We need to reorient our mindset. We are crown for since now millions of parliament. You just need to be a thief and have money.
Yes. I think
you buy your way through. It's sad.
It is true.
Sorry.
And very unfortunate, say, maybe I started free. I have barbecue purpose, but I think it's indiscipline and then lack of strength and credibility by the state institutions to work boldly. Because if the state institutions are being bold and prosecuting who they are supposed to prosecute, people will be afraid and then they'll stay away from corruption.
Yeah, me a young guy, maybe I'm a MP. My sit-down bear 5. More companies bear say 4. My bank account dollar there say $3 million. Maybe a city there say 5 million cities. Maybe I'm more farms. It's government agency be any crime over I'm saying me my bank. Now how am I able to do all these things? So you leave people to chant and not here for pressure
in the system.
Oh, so people will die because they think say my classmate but some classmates in for. And their children will come and tell our children say Papa Mobra. It is sad.
Okay, I think I pass from ye pa. Anka any who can say sorry say utia dia papa. Minimum say over the period no. Ghana you have problems with the customs system and the revenue generation. Fiscal no yes fiscal no. It be function. It be weird can be. Yes we if young minority no. So yeah you be a bit o man business ka. Na o man no emboka me say we nyina de I mean obia be enveje the bibi e discover ba de one empe obia be discover ba and the bibi finance minister e dia ba e ma yetimi e sebuska na isika nka yira e besa na minister kraka say we have where me yetimi yen iska bibre ama man na ya sempa. And so, begin to say, Nema said, Mofaso, a far company, no, and a company na, my fan, and a Nema, Omo Yano, be a secretary. There are certain good questions I was here answer. I will be answering. And until my files are out here to get full disclosure of the whole contract.
Okay. I know the anka, ne kwanswano, no, Sabi, baby, a bebwa Ghana, mine cancro, no, ne kwanswano, no. And like people like us, I say, meaning bra, I draw line between partisanship and nationalism. And found Nenia or Pimwaye, so the coordinator Bebu man Ghana, the Hono MPP 70 and this is same because eventually Ghana and Bebu name and Penny for say when your friend is so better boa abowa na ukrebi and then the engine ibiso. The importing now sha see. Ohwe petin tekremu a enam so ma nyina so ma o tro sa de bigiri say as an honorable member watch our parliament say bi on tro krata sa akwa e bia wanyantie bi ne ye che kakra because sanka me ye huru ye no wahunu honorable
e wo de me hunu de mate
honorable what dey when
me ka say ohwe me emra me tse sasem we na me de because he nyina bi sa pa ne binya company betia boa e be ye de I am intention also me hwese de be ha ban moka. Did mema abaya moka bia no e be me ya. Enti ma sound the catcher and wanna say de be ha ban moka no. Me hwe company aban the man me hwe the bank of the company. Enti me hwe company no say okay company we did it through there.
Okay.
And that through there no mu register on company no e was Cyprus. Say I don't know. Register on the North Cyprus town. Like I say, be a baby or I don't miss Cyprus.
Now, Ghana for there.
And the moment throw a home command register of companies or Cyprus. No, so reply me.
Okay.
And no, or chair me company and say company no, a investment company or more general trading, and almost sounds so yeah asset management. And the ocean company no, the sooner the buy now company no any company or experience or my age may be other. Company no on the 28th of December 2004, 28th of December 2024. Fita my take company no when you may be other. First, you may we are thinking and the Ombe Organa. And the bio company no, yes, I tell you no, only artificial intelligence and I say custom technology and I say IT background on the register document. Bibia send you into the ocean company or you general trading now or yeah asset management only experience or custom technology on customs maybe that on your trader now or the way next be wo na me sa do mosuko na be come say that companies no original owners no we original owners pa no omo Israelis omo Canadians omo Israelis agana ni bi efrafram kakra wa kire and on the dining.
But Ghana for directors, sir registration.
Now, no directors, no Mudiama. At my so you said the full list for the directors of Mudiama. The Omakan say one director, no woman, one shareholder, no or a cop or a Cyprus or a Cyprus in me, and on no film, with mama, a 2 Europeans, but among chairman directors, no, it was shit. We now make the background of the company in company experience or be a juma or be like
Amagana. So
it man only bisata the bed no say ye obesoya ene yapamo otoado no yes mirror host
Otu Darko
na never so am the pie say Ghana Black Star ya pointing so or Black Stars coach obi be worried hey no to Darko no or journalist or no or motivational speaker or customer of footy that been of coach go a football coach the share of background or who saw see so in Quebec if you now was experience my own Troy ye nim the actual and nunti and my
okay in fact now you know there like I said because it's all in the interest of Ghana BBBI in the interest of Ghana there ye man yosemba mo enyi but me question is now o can be say and Kamiako say almost share ni intelligence background on IT near there but only ni say ABA company registration there directors not register any visionaries but they can also lease out to consultancy who may have the requisite knowledge of IT.
So but the point is that we have to know about it.
Okay.
Somehow no or see it me who be to be there should people must know Oko interviewer who the kind of application and you see and the show application you see one and maybe be our interview no question yes sir yeah as you must say the whole series so now we win now yeah and the way a company that's a company no we a contractor who pay road construction now we see there and I say o party now the ban and say resume whatever now the ban it is why you good construction that company ben this other amount. It is not about whether only panel or also bleti and also we are talking about the one who had the contract. You need a contract, not from Yeka. We assume said the contract no must have experience in the area, no question. That one is to give everybody comfort.
Now, so far, do we need to for one shall say, yeah, Jumano, with this AI technology, no, me patro, who assess here,
Minister, never two for Turkey and New Ghana. Say, my regain money in my share RT and I'm a failure. Messi on chase cow in 2 weeks. Almost at 2026. 12th March 2026, on stage one. Almost 3 weeks near almost is cow so far. No one is car. Before 2 weeks before. And no one is last year by this time, the same time last year. Now the icons here, man, is when another boy am yet me at you, Miss Hans said, almost I train abuse. Process has been on firm how we company no. Company almost selecting the same. Was it through competitive bidding and competitive selection and answer through soul sourcing or me? So these are legitimate questions that will help everybody, including who journalists. So obit me what I say. Now boy me I hear my
Now, Honorable, finally, before I wakon, in as much as I agree with your position, say, Opese Ghana nya enema home faswo. As a Pan-Africanist, that is a good position because in the end, so I'm a kind of bebwa Ghana. There are some people who also think they say, "ABA, a 9-day wonder kakra." It's an say, "Dano no so be." For instance, unso can say this company we in human many experience. So somebody like Chama want to me yes sure so experience in road contract near there, but OJ $43 million. Okay, so routes. Maybe honorable, hold on. Honorable, I'll give you latitude. Hold on.
Because the
honorable, I'll give you time. Don't worry. The question is, I didn't see no one throw for some of these further and better particulars, but now. Very well. There be honorable.
NDC for any kind of thing now to a better MPP. Say ya nyene me yi omo campaign omo de wontumi asemo nyina premise wo contract.
That's right.
And you know omo ka say MPP ya mo ye bre yi oben nti omo to betia yi. The friend no passive vote of no confidence on us. Say yenye ni omo tomo ye fi abem ye koye. In the history of Ghana no vote e di lusu election obi en lusu bi da. Yes sir.
That's true.
Because ya nye adwuma yi. Nti so bi anya adwuma yi no obi anka o say ne obi aye boni to bi nka obo akra. The mere fact is want to be obi anka no just me and that remainka.
Oh, and I was just thinking say we should be consistent.
Enye enuntino nkofo dia so to abati aye say ya ban yen. And just me we are there now remainka.
Okay.
That is that then. And now we have to go on now. Now only what we know. What my interest is very simple.
Yes.
For us to know who are the directors,
which are legitimate.
So these are points are made in the interest of Ghana.
These are legitimate claims.
Somebody did some last time and Obi and Bisa, I don't look at that side. What I'm looking at is what can help us to build our country Ghana well.
It's honorable way no you say at the end of the day no emphasis dia ben pa na Ghana benye free sa opposition mo.
The position ne say anem be we are just the part of first part of the RTI. Note the Ghana ye secretary to the WTO agreement. You're a member of World Trade Organization. You sign yes World Trade Organization for Amayambra in this so. The whole world country be a share WTO as WTO among Mbra on find any value and on find valuation of customer assessment to be used the same thing. It's a Oko friend is saying Germany use this Oko Belgium use baby for use and a Ghana. The WTO are deny or their my we are singing an use you use Ghana yes I am or parliament. And man, even 2015 bra Act 891. What the WTO cannot say bra fineko bra. Obedient to being the from Fanya and value and assessment. This is the WTO their mind. Into share current act na Act 891 or 2015 section 67 and 68 clearly. AI, publican AI, a flat alone. So if flaps alone na nakese mbumpi si between their mind court.
Okay. Honorable Bejaho. But minim say repam ye no bedin komo because there's one other issue. Maybe I say no bedin komo on near Deputy Finance Minister Editu Jaffa one issue one factory scheme that was riddled with some fictitious claims. And according to him about 89.4 million bi wo hon mo a yan hwe krampo no a na chese e bad data ne sa I'm Ghana and Kankro, but in good times, you know, you better that from not you share the
several times. Simple cry.
Okay.
1D1F, a private sector led initiative. 1D1F Secretariat through Ministry of Trade. How many banks be co-agreements? Our banks in a form of participating financial institution. Omuna, the who a private sector now here Serbia, I 1D1F now Libya on the Bobusia. But on the Bobusia, only to because private sector no case interest of Bobusia also into a buying a kind say in the incentive package the amount say incentive package, you know, a bank can say the interest the amount of which a fund a private sector. Into say who on a loan of participating financial institution, not to be a commercial bank. Now say a loan 10 cities. The interest then also 2 cities. I might say 2 cities no. Over to your 1 city amount.
Okay.
I don't say.
That's right.
Now I am the amount. Into a nona a buyer. But anytime be and go for the more never be some person we part of the 1D1F no. Near the documents never call participating financial institution no. You catch the finance ministry say. Enchibiano, Nkofo bank go Bobusian, stay near buying commitment, a buying subsidy, say a buying sobitia, Bosiano interest in half a mobia. In Timbanza wo na utu Darko, or Cockwaty loan, or Barclays Bank, at the Bay 1D1F. Interest here 2 cities, a buying so much 1 city amount. In the ministry, no, and some edu document that call Barclays Bank, you can't draw Ministry of Finance. You know, interest payment on half.
Yes.
Yeah, make it ready to pay. That was an idea. It's funny, my companies 5, you know, how many 5 banks in the year, man. But 5 banks, you know, my companies no loan. No. They didn't advance the loan. We wrote the request to the Ministry of Finance. We try request no coin. So I'm prepared to pay the loan, to pay the interest subsidy. But the banks didn't advance the loans to the individuals. Into 1 or 2, work of banks, so loan 10 cities. Now, a bank of which interest, no 2 cities of which 1 city amount. But amount for loan number one, I buy interest be, and now will be interest be.
That's
right, very simple. So we only wrote requesting for the amount from the Ministry of Finance.
It's not just and yes, 89.4 million be na 5 banks and I fetch the correct na bibia say anyhow enti sa
because oma mat musniano ye troko ye Ministry of Finance wa ho na ba tua obi loan I demand no part payment part no half payment ni iska 89.4 enti bo ho ne kutua I don't say the do bo ho a wo kutua no but ye twa ye nko fo na ma loan so my loan there, like you say, interest be so me kutua. There am say paper na ye talk about Ministry of Finance in the down. Into that paper na so. Now call bank or now could be the bank and say bank. But you are buying local 89.4 million. Bank because they be because of we only wrote to you, and the bank was supposed to advance the loan, but the bank didn't give the loan to those guys. Into one for loan now, interest be a maso. And interest say the bank be because the interest be a loan be because the entire loan be
it's honorable and now back when I say you try about 10.5 million into a buffer account, and so you're quite no even the account does not even exist.
I'm telling you, we can go to the author general report number, and there's nothing like that at the Ministry of Trade.
Okay.
Buffer account to be you can go and check.
Okay.
You can go and check.
Very well. That's no change. You better him say na we hian beba na ebanso a you better say afro na yegina so edin komo. But for now it is a legitimate cause, at least on behalf of Ghana. It's a legitimate cause. I mean, Adia Boa Ghana is in order.
That's it.